Really quickly want to also introduce our moderator and our guest for today. I guess, Avni, we've known you for so long, it feels like, but you might recognize her from LinkedIn where she posts for her org, Gen She. How much reach are you on this? It feels like so many people know about you.
Yeah, so we get around 60 million views a month right now, which is crazy. LinkedIn is really the platform to be on, guys. Don't sleep on it.
I'll be joining us today as our moderator for our chat with Nicole from Bilt. Nicole, you are the president of Loyalty, where you are building many things, including the first ever AI concierge part of Bilt Rewards. And if you're not familiar with Bilt, we covered them on Unicorner some time ago, but you might be most familiar with them as the verified platform to get rewards on all your rent and larger ecosystem and all that. Nicole will be talking more about that today. I think we're ready to kick off this first session. I don't know if we need to get mic'd up, by the way. No, we got. Okay, we're good. Okay, awesome. Let's kick it off.
Hello, everyone. So good to see you guys. So, like you mentioned, my name is Avni, and I'm the founder of Gen She. Our mission is to help women get to the top 1%. And I'm also a creator. So we have about 1 million across socials, getting 60 million views a month, really trying to bring a lot of that education, resources, and community to women in tech, AI, entrepreneurship, ventures. So I'm really excited to have this chat with you today, Nicole. And fun fact, this is a huge full circle moment for me because a couple years ago when Bilt was a lot smaller of a company, I was part of their original Bilt class as part of their imposter program. So I was just really obsessed with everything you guys have built. I've been watching closely from the sidelines. You guys are OGs for me as partners, and I'm just really excited to learn about all the things that you guys have going on, especially with your AI concierge. So yeah, so you can kick it off and share a little bit of context about you and kind of Bilt.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole. As I was introduced, I'm the president of Loyalty Services. We've actually just renamed to Hospitality Services, and I'll get more into that later. But I spent 10 years at American Express, which we all know is kind of one of the originators of membership and loyalty. I did several different jobs there. I was on the just traditional B2B marketing side. I did content for B2B as well. I don't know if anybody remembers Open Forum. And then I managed our entertainment partnerships there, so theater, music, and sports. And then over 4 years ago, I came over to Bilt. And now here we are, Hospitality Services.
So you spent nearly a decade at Amex. What gave you the conviction to take this huge bet on a startup?
Yeah, so I hate to say it just felt right. I would love to say I put more thought into it. When I was at Amex, you're encouraged to move around every 2 or so years. And this kind of mentality of like, go with your gut kind of worked with that. There would be a couple different jobs and I'd start putting out feelers and then just the right one would come up. And I felt like I got a really well-rounded experience at Amex. I got to do a lot of different things. I was marketing, product, partnerships, and I was kind of just planning to continue to work my way up there. And then I had a friend move to another big bank, who will not be named. And he was like, come on over. I was like, I don't know. I think if I'm going to stay at a bank, I want to stick around at Amex. And, I have a great network here and it's an amazing brand. And he was like, well, interview. I won't be mad if you don't come. So I interviewed, I went through the process. And I ended up declining the offer because it didn't feel right. I was like, I'm gonna stick with Amex, I'm a loyal person. Well, a couple weeks later, I actually saw that Encore, our CEO at Bilt, had posted on Instagram, an Instagram story saying he's hiring for 3 key roles. And there was a partner marketing role. And I DM'd him and I had crossed paths with him in college. And I said, hey, long time no talk. What's up with the partner marketing role? And he was like, let's chat. And so I had 1 day of interviews there and it just felt right. I was like, this is exciting. They're in office. I mean, this is 2022, so people are trickling back to office, but Bilt was full force, 5 days a week back in office, which I personally love. I know not a lot of people love that. And it just felt like something new and exciting and that I could add value. It was only 40 people at the time. So I made the leap. Didn't really think too much about it, actually.
Crazy how things work out. If we didn't say no to that job, maybe you.
I know, isn't that great? Because there was a moment where I looked at the potential pay and the opportunity, and I was like, this looks pretty good. But I was thinking about my future and what actually I wanted to do. And it would have been a virtual role, which, again, wasn't right for me. But yeah, worked out.
Yeah, I would love to hear some of the lessons you took from Amex and how you lead and make decisions at Bilt.
Yeah. So it's funny, people were always like, how did you leave such a big company of, 10 years to this small startup? And yes, there's many differences. We move faster. We have more autonomy. There's less layers, obviously. We're figuring it out. You're closer to the action. But at the end of the day, I feel like at Amex, each of my roles, my team became my little startup crew. We were scrappy in our own way. If we didn't get the budgets we needed, we figured something else out. And we really cared about what we owned, and we were like mini companies within American Express. So I think a lot of the lessons I learned around just figuring out how to navigate a big company is similar to figuring out how to navigate a small company. There's always resource limitations and people who aren't on board with what you want to do, and you figure it out. I also always say I felt like working at Amex was kind of just like going to business school, getting paid to go to business school. I learned how to read contracts. I learned how to manage partnerships. I learned how to pitch to leadership. So it did set me up really well for Bilt.
And on the flip side, what did it not set you up for?
What did it not set me up for? It's funny. There was something about being at a large company that I always felt like maybe I actually didn't fit in. I'm the type of person that gets in the room and just wants to say what's on my mind, which wasn't always what you're supposed to do when you get there. And so when I first came to Bilt, I felt like I'd been a little bit trained to come in with my perfect deck and make sure I said all the things that I'm supposed to say. And, in a meeting, just make sure you say something. And I quickly realized that was not the case at Bilt. If you don't have something helpful for the conversation, don't say it. That's not going to get you any extra respect. And don't spend, all night working on a deck. Spend all night thinking through a really good idea and how you're actually going to get it done, and in 24 hours, and then come with that prepared. So I think I was probably a little bit too buttoned up at first, but I made that quick pivot, I would say, within the first month. Because I was like, I'm not going to get shit done here if I don't change how I'm behaving, and kind of how I always wanted to behave at Amex anyways.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I think one thing a lot of founders here can probably relate to is building in categories with massive increments can be hard. And when you started at Bilt, right, you had major players, Chase and Amex, that you guys were competing against. So how do you navigate that? How do you find the resources and be scrappy to make it work?
Yeah. I think we put together a really amazing team of people who, have connections in the space like I did, people from all across the country who have different points of view of what customers actually want. And we really focused on creating products that don't actually directly compete with any one company. We kind of layer on top or act as another distribution channel for all of the companies that you may think on the surface could be competitors. So, for example, we partner with United as one of our transfer partners, but we also work with their co-brand card, which is obviously another credit card. We do have a credit card. That's not our core business, so we're able to say, okay, don't get our card. If you want to pay rent with Bilt and earn rewards, you can use your United co-brand card and link that, and you'll get extra points on rent using that card. And so that way we enable other banks to succeed, and our travel partners to succeed, and get that rent and neighborhood spend on their card as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually phenomenal. I'm kind of at this point now where I can talk about Bilt to any friend, and they're like, yes,
we love that.
Obviously.
We love that.
How do you create that customer love? Because obviously it clearly the partnerships creates a lot of this inclusivity, everyone can kind of be part of the Bilt movement.
Yeah.
And so I imagine that's a key role in that, but what else do you do to really create that?
Yeah, over the years, we've made sure to get, a range of point of view of what people are looking for and what they like. We pay really close attention to customer feedback through any and all channels. Our CEO Encore actually sends a CEO note once a month, and if you reply, it does go to his inbox and he does respond to those emails. I mean, we'll be in meetings and I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like responding, he's like, I just got so many emails from members today. And it's the good, the bad, the ugly, and he responds. So I think that's really important that our CEO is seeing what people are actually saying. We've also created Close Friends, which is a group anyone can sign up to be a part of it. And if you get approved to be a part of it, you get invited to special events, you get early access to new features. So those features are in beta. They may be buggy, but they know that. And it's kind of like scavenger hunt to be like, what's broken and what could I do? What's better? We want people to break it before we put it out into the world. And that's how we know if it's really, a good product. That's our focus group. We're not actually putting on like formal focus groups. We're like, here's what we think is good. What do you think?
Yeah, I think building a membership ecosystem and really having people come back again and again, I think it's one of the most challenging things about building a product, especially building a startup. So I would be curious, like how you created that, and also how you derived inspiration from other categories like hospitality, travel.
Yeah, huge inspiration from those other categories. I think, we look at our lives and what really brings us joy and makes it feel like this is a good experience. And the hotel experience is one that we think of a lot. When you're at a hotel, if you're often booking a hotel because you enjoy that loyalty program, you like the rewards it gives you, you like the quality of that brand that you go to. When you get there, you're then identified by the room that you're staying in. So you go to the restaurant, you go to the bar, you go to the spa, you go to the pool, you can charge everything to your room. And it feels like this really amazing hospitality experience, and you're getting recognized. It's your anniversary and they know that, and they're leaving you, chocolate covered strawberries in the room. And that's what we want to do for our members at scale, with the home being the kind of central base that connects you to the rest of your neighborhood and your travels. So the travel space is a huge inspiration there.
Totally, that makes a ton of sense. Okay, and this is a perfect transition to AI, the topic we're all here to today. So I think one thing that's really interesting about Bilt is it made a completely different bet than what all the other startups are doing, right? Every startup, it seems like it's just like adding a chatbot into their product. And you guys have totally built out a completely different thing, which is the AI Concierge, which is actually not just a chat interface, but it's taking actions on behalf of the user. So I would love to learn more about that decision-making process.
Yeah, I think we all looked at what we were doing in our own lives, and we were all going straight to Claude or Chat or Gemini for the questions that we had. And so we were like, well, wouldn't everybody want to do that with our product too? And we did have a chatbot at the time. Everybody had a customer service chatbot. And we said, let's build on top of this. Why shouldn't it be able to answer, travel planning, or help you transfer your points, or help you make your rent payment? The Bilt product does so much that it's hard to create a product that you can easily find what you want to do. And so why don't we just make a chat interface that lets you do that directly? So we made the Bilt Concierge about a year ago now. And we've been building in, new tools, new capabilities, new knowledge. We learn from what our users are asking. We learn from what they're finding helpful and what they're not finding helpful, and adding in more capabilities every day. And finding that it's really helping people get to where they want to go in the product, and helping guide them through the product of what they're actually looking for. We also have, and you guys probably don't know much about this, we do have a big B2B side of our business, where we're unlocking for all of our partners across different industries. So dining, travel, parking, pharmacies, the ability to reach our network. And in doing that, we're helping them build a hospitality experiences platform. So we also have a concierge for our merchant partners as well. So they can go in and they can ask, hey, who's coming into my restaurant today? Can I actually create a complimentary, glass of wine for everybody that's visited my restaurant 3 times or more before, because I want to reward them tonight. And so we're building in the ability for them to agentically create these experiences, so they don't have to go through this more traditional SaaS platform that they don't have time for. The GM of a restaurant is on the floor, and in that moment they say, oh, Avni's here. I want to send her favorite dessert tonight. And it's just, they can go to the concierge and tell it to do that. Similar on the housing side, our property managers have a lot of information coming to them around rent payments, amenity bookings, issues that they have, maintenance requests that they're submitting. And so all of that can be handled by the merchant with their concierge. And then lastly, the third piece of that is a concierge that all of these partners can use for their customers. So we've now created phone numbers for our partners that people can text in and say, hey, I want a reservation tonight, or actually I need to change my reservation, or it's my birthday, or it's my friend's birthday. And then similarly on the resident side. So residents can now say, my sink is leaking, submit a maintenance request. So we're really trying to figure out all the surfaces that can be powered with a concierge and use AI to do that.
Yeah, and I use Concierge like every day. Like it works, guys. It actually works. I feel like so many of these products say theoretically we do these things, and you try and use it, and you're like,
This sucks, yeah.
what's going on here? So it's really phenomenal the way you guys have done it, and you've done it so well. Something I think about a lot is like AI. The challenge with AI is not really intelligence anymore. Actually, it's trust.
Yep.
Right? Like I'm more likely to use this because it worked well and it really delivered on the experience that I felt wasn't like significantly worse than a human. So now I trust it to use it again, and I trust the product a lot more. So how do you think about what things you should put behind AI versus things that you shouldn't because it could, deteriorate that trust?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Something we think about all the time, obviously. We don't want to be using AI just to say that we're using AI and create that surface just to say, oh, we have this concierge. We need to make sure that it's safe and useful. So we've really made sure to kind of layer in all of the necessary controls to make sure that people aren't going down a path where they feel like, I didn't mean to authorize that. And so everything is tool-based. So we've created tools for most of the core flows so that it is very specific what can be done and the authentication that needs to happen to be able to get that thing done on your behalf. So rent payments, that's a really serious thing. We've made sure that there are very strong guardrails around if somebody asks to make a rent payment, what the AI is able to do and not able to do. Whereas if somebody is asking, hey, can you recommend restaurants that I might like in the West Village? We can remove those guardrails and we can use, web search and other kind of knowledge bases. Because sure, could it say something that's actually in Soho instead of the West Village? Fine. It may take some liberties there, but we don't want any of that with our flows that actually require like transfers of money or sensitive information. And then we have some flows that we transparently just haven't built yet because we haven't been able to create that step-up function to make sure that we get the right authentication before someone takes an action.
Totally, and I think being cautious about that is what maintains the trust.
Yeah.
What happens when it goes wrong? Like, do you have a fallback system?
It never is wrong. No, I'm kidding. When we have a whole monitoring system and every day each team, because there's several teams at Bilt that plug into the concierge that we've built. And we have a daily report of what types of requests are people asking for capabilities that your pod owns, what is working really well and had avoided an escalation, what is being escalated to a human, and where are tools actually failing. And we make sure that they fail gracefully and that we tell you, oh, we actually couldn't do that. So they don't think their rent payment went through if it didn't. We don't think that reservation got booked if it didn't. And then we're able to escalate to a human.
Yeah. Oh, that makes so much sense. I feel like this room probably has a good amount of non-engineers. So I would love to know, like, what's the biggest thing non-technical founders still don't realize and underestimate what AI now allows them to build?
Yeah, so I'm sure you gathered from my background that I mentioned at Amex that I actually didn't have any sort of engineering background. And now I have a team of plenty of engineers that I work really well with. And that's actually something I love about being at a startup, that at Amex, our product and engineering team was kind of like behind the scenes. And it was like, here's the design I want. Okay, send it out into this team that I've never met before and I'm not going to talk to. Now we're sitting with our engineers all day and they get the business context of what we're looking for. And they can tell me why they should or shouldn't build it in a certain way, which has been really amazing. And I encourage all companies to break that barrier and make sure that everybody can talk. And now with AI, that's easier than ever because all of our non-technical teammates are actually using AI every day. And it's been really amazing to see, especially on the concierge side. We have a team of what we call product specialists. Most of these people came from our CX team. They had no technical experience before, and they're using Devin mostly to prompt and push their own PRs to create tools, even small bug fixes, prompt updates, knowledge doc updates. They're doing that all themselves. And yes, engineers are reviewing those PRs before they're merged. But they're pushing code, which is really cool and really freeing, and obviously adds to a lot of efficiency, but also just makes people feel more empowered about the products they own, and breaks down a lot of that kind of translation game of telephone that can happen from like product spec to actually it being built when people can be hands-on and do it themselves.
Yeah, no, that makes so much sense. So if you were hiring your next 10 employees today, what skills would you be looking for? What do you think matters the most? What do you think matters the least in this like AI world we live in?
People that are just willing to do what it takes to test and figure out what works and how it works. I think not relying too much on, well, I don't have a CS background, so I'm never going to be able to build this myself. Like, you need to be the type of person that likes to tinker around. I'm sure many of you, all of you in this room are like that. And just willing to do whatever it takes to teach yourself and figure it out. We found the best people at Bilt who succeed aren't the people with the best degrees or the best resume. It's really the people that just want to figure it out, and they're not going to stop until they figure it out, and they actually think it's fun. It's like a game, right? Like, once you figure out how to use AI to get done the thing you want to get done, it's really satisfying. And using it in new ways. Like, maybe you usually create a spreadsheet for something, and maybe your first go-to is, I want to use AI to create that spreadsheet. Well, maybe you don't even need a spreadsheet anymore. Maybe you can screenshot all the information you wanted to analyze and just ask, ask all the questions, What's the revenue here? What's the click-through rate? And so I'm finding that people that are using AI in that way are really successful.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Well, if it's possible, maybe we could get some audience questions.
Let's do it.
I'm sure you guys are, amazing. What should we do? Should we just have people? Okay, perfect. Do you want to just?
Yeah. So my co-founder and I have been in restaurant operations for 20 years. I've got a lot of questions. So the AI concierge with Bilt, how do you compete when you guys have, let's say, 10 million or so customers against somebody like OpenTable that has a concierge of 6 billion?
Yeah.
How are you competing against that? Like, how do you know when I come in that I want this particular glass of wine? Where are you getting the data from?
Yeah.
How can you compete against OpenTable?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. It's kind of like I said before, everything we built is meant to layer on top and not replace. So we're not trying to be a booking platform. We're not trying to be a POS system. So we work with OpenTable, actually, as a good example. And so we're integrated with OpenTable, Toast, and other booking and POS systems so that we can have that data at our fingertips and use it to orchestrate across the life cycle. So pre, during, post visit, have all the data we need from those integrations, and we can execute based on who has entered the audience, exited the audience, where they are in their experience at the restaurant, what they've ordered at that restaurant, who they are, how they're tagged. All of that can be used as signals to send them a glass of wine, send them a complimentary car, send them a text about something regarding their reservation. So yeah, it's really about connecting in rather than replacing any of those systems.
Hi, I really enjoyed the conversation. I was curious, so you talked a little bit about the transformation Bilt has gone through. There's obviously a new card and the tiers that come with that. How do you think about a premium experience and loyalty in terms of those different tiers?
Yeah, so I think with the new cards, for those of you who aren't familiar, we had a no-fee card for the last 4 years, and we just launched 3 cards. 1 is no fee, and then 2 of them have a fee. And it is around, having benefits that reflect the fee that you're paying and how much you're actually using the card. So now the more you spend, the more points on rent you're getting, and that's for every product. Our highest tier card is more of that kind of luxury lifestyle, travel-focused card. We have more travel credit. And then the mid-range is kind of your everyday, you like to dine out. And so rewarding people in that way. So I think we still want to make sure that regardless of what card, or if you don't have a card and you're a Bilt member who lives in a Bilt Alliance building and have linked all your other cards, that we're rewarding people for their usage of the program and giving them the benefits that are appropriate for why they chose that product in the first place.
Hi, great presentation. I really do agree a lot with what you're saying about hiring because I'm in that consumer space for hiring. But as far as partnerships go, you were mentioning a second ago how you integrate with OpenTable and all of these toast other platforms. How do you approach those partnerships originally and give benefit to that company, especially when you're coming from more of a startup angle and they already have that visibility?
Yeah. I mean, I think in this AI world, and we were talking about this before, that like 30 years ago, it was people were like, are you using the internet? And so now it's, how are you using AI? And I think everybody's kind of coming to the table big and small and comparing notes and how, what are you building? How can I integrate with you? Should I be building it in-house? I mean, we've had those conversations. We have some partnerships that we've kept because they can build it better. And so why don't we just work with them? And then there's some that we've let go and we're building it in-house because we feel like we want to have that control in-house. And so when we come to the table with these partners, we're having those honest conversations of, hey, you might be trying to build this in-house and we're not saying you can't, but we've actually built all of this. We have all of these restaurant partnerships already. Here's what we're already doing for them. If we join forces, we can actually be stronger together and acquire new partnerships based on what we can do together. Instead of you now taking a year to build this in-house, we can partner. So that's been a lot of the conversations and coming to the table through our partners, through our restaurant partners, through our residential partners, because I don't want to forget about the housing side. That's kind of the biggest piece of our business. And there's a ton of prop tech companies out there that we're in talks with right now or already have integrations with to make sure that we don't want to replace that system that you own, but if we integrate, we can add an extra layer for that, or they can do that for us.
Hi, Kristen, data person, thank you. The concierge is only as good as the data that is there, so how do you keep the data fresh? Like,
Yes.
which restaurants have tables and
Yes.
the little location data?
This is very top of mind for me right now. We love a data person. I'm working with the data team all the time. Yeah, I always say to the team, garbage in, garbage out. Like if we're giving it crappy data, it's going to give crappy information to our members and our partners, customers. So we have built a central data model that makes sure that we have everything kind of categorized in a very specific way and readable by the LLM so that it's not hallucinating or making stuff up out of nowhere. So that's been key. It's creating the actual agents and prompting it to have a certain tone and creating the knowledge is not the hard part. It's the integrations that we have with other partners to make sure that we're getting the information on a regular basis. We're caching it when it makes sense. We're refreshing it to make sure that it's not stale from the cache. And then making sure that it's organized in a way and that we give instructions to the LLM on how to read all of those data tables. And we're learning every day how to do that. We'll build, we have an audience builder feature, for example, so that our partners can use it to build audiences on the fly. So instead of having to go to like a filter builder of like, has been to my restaurant 10 times, spent $500, ordered this type of wine, natural language, using that to actually build it. And so when we first kind of were testing in-house, we're like, oh, this works. And then we started asking it more complicated things, specific menu items, things like that. And we found that it was taking too long and timing out. And so that's when we realized we need to work with the data team to clean it up, make sure it's modeled. And we have very specific concepts around what a visit is, what an order is, what a SKU is, so that all of that can be returned in a really clean way and quickly.
Have you considered publishing or launching the Bilt Concierge just as like a generally available tool or platform, like the folks outside the Bilt network?
So anyone can join Bilt. You actually don't have to live in a Bilt Alliance property or have the card. It's totally free. So in that way, it is generally available. So you guys should all sign up for Bilt and use the concierge. If you link your cards and then are spending on those cards, or move in network or get our card, we know more about you. And so we can give you more relevant recommendations. But yeah, it is available in that way. But I'm sure as we continue to develop the capabilities, we'll talk about more external surfaces where it could be available.
Thank you for the conversation. I have a more general question. If AI becomes a form of infrastructure, like, for example, electricity, internet, Wi-Fi, where do you think value creation will be? Do you think it will be in form of like the AI model or the application that's built on top of it?
I mean, I think I think it's everything. I think you're getting to the right point of like, it is just starting to power everything. And so I know everybody's talking about like, what will happen to jobs? And it's like, we all have to learn how to manage all of these agents and structure data in the right way to make sure that it works. So I think it's going to be everywhere. Again, just like when it was like the internet, what's happening with the internet, now you don't even think about that anymore. It's like inherent to literally every device or everything that you're doing. So I think it's going to be across the full stack. Yeah.
And what's the value to a customer booking through Bilt?
Yeah. So when they book through Bilt, they are booking through the booking platform, through our integrations. So if they come to our product instead of OpenTable, they've come to us because they want recommendations of where they should go that night. And we have
Presumably better than the ones in the traditional platforms.
I think it will depend on what data we have on that customer versus what data they have on the customer. We also have a ton of data on people who live in certain buildings and certain neighborhoods. And that's data that OpenTable may not have. But again, like we're not trying to take that traffic away, which is why we do have such a big B2B business as well. And it's really about orchestrating across the whole experience. But if our members want to use our product to book a table because they're already there, they're paying their rent, they're planning a trip, they're transferring their points that they earned on rent to plan that trip. Now they want to think about what reservations they want to book. We can book those on their behalf. It's just a one-stop shop to do that.
Grand scheme of super app off the back of it?
I think what we've built already has a ton of capabilities. I don't know, that term is always, you don't have to use the app for everything. We have some people that are just coming to do very distinct actions. But yeah, the idea is that we are able to take something from, recommendation through to the action and that they won't have to leave.
Yeah, I do just, like going off of that question, like there's gotta be some kind of value add for the customer, right? Because like OpenTable, Google, like they're the main search platforms for restaurants. So why is a customer, how are you gonna get customers to convert to just thinking like, oh, we're gonna use Bilt to book through a restaurant versus when they already go, the eyeballs are already on OpenTable, they're already on Rescue. Those are the demand channels.
Yeah.
How are you guys gonna create that with just, you're doing housing, but how are you gonna adopt that?
Yeah, again, we don't rely on people coming to us. Like our business isn't based on how many people come to us and book through us. It's a service that we provide to our members if that's how they want to use the product. So if they're coming to us to do all of the things they want to do at home and in their neighborhood, that's great. If they want to go to OpenTable to book their reservations, that's great too. And then with those restaurants, when that customer comes, they could still have their experience orchestrated through Bilt on the back end. So they don't have to book through Bilt to get that experience. You don't have to be a Bilt member for us to power the hospitality platform that we're bringing to our restaurant partners.
Quick question about international clients. So you are a US-based company, right? I assume that booking can be done internationally, so you can remember which process you use in each person. But what's happening in Cambodia, go to a restaurant, it's on the table and everything else. Are you basically market bounded that to a certain extent, or are you trying to?
So at this point, on the restaurant side, we're pretty focused on the US in terms of where our partnerships are. We do have a few internationally. We can still provide recommendations and link out to the relevant booking platform. But at the moment, kind of across our business, we are focused on the US. But yes, we have many hotel partners. And of course, you can book a flight anywhere. But all of our housing partners are in the US.
And the question is, if you release the premium card, then premium customers are oftentimes not US.
That's right. Yes. We also have our travel advisors. I mean, you had asked this before, like where does the human touch come in? We have our travel advisors that our customers can use, and so they can work directly with the travel advisor to help book all of that as well.
Those are virtuals.
It's through virtuosity.
Hi, I'm a design manager at United Airlines, and I would like to understand more about the agentic platform for transferring points and how that would work.
Yeah.
If you could talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so today, a major way that our members like to use their points is on travel. And so being able to go into that experience through the concierge and do that is helpful. So especially when we have a transfer bonus. So these are flows that we have some live, some we're still building to make sure that we can appropriately transfer to the right place at the right time, especially with these transfer bonuses, but really just making it seamless end to end so that you can go in and say, hey, I'm actually trying to go to, London next week. Where would be the best partner that I could transfer my points? And then we can pull up prices and cash and points, do comparisons around that, and then ultimately, bring them to the right place or help them transfer from the concierge. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about maybe like some of the learnings from when Bilt 1.0 was focused on being provide a free card, and that's how you built the company and then transforming into more of like a travel and hospitality, not just like the credit card business. Maybe some learnings or challenges in terms of like retention of customers or acquiring new customers.
Yeah, so when I joined, it was 2 weeks before the public launch of the Wells Fargo co-brand card, so 1.0. And at that point, we were also we've always been very focused on our just general rewards on rent business. And so we also had our partnerships across multifamily owners and operators. And so those businesses were growing in parallel, and we always really focused on not using our multifamily channel to be a card acquisition channel. They were two separate businesses. If you want to earn rewards on rent, you can do that in our network of buildings. And if you're in our network, you can get the card or you don't have to get the card. And then if you're not in network, you can also get this card. Then after a year or two, we added the ability that actually out of network, you could link any card and get rewards at any building. It didn't have to be our card, and it didn't have to be in our network of buildings. And from there, we realized the value in just building this neighborhood network overall. And so back to the hotel example of, you have your room, and the equivalent here is you have your unit that you're renting. How can now we connect you to this new neighborhood that you live in and reward you for being a local? Kind of the art of being a local has a little bit gone by the wayside, I think, especially with social media and like the hot restaurants, and you go all over the place to find them. People aren't regulars as much anymore. And so I think really bringing that back and finding value in what it means to be a regular. And we found that we could build that network and create rewards that didn't rely on a card. So if you're a huge Bilt loyalist and you want to earn all your points in Bilt and be a part of our entire ecosystem, get the card. If you don't, totally fine. And through that, we then also realized the value in the B2B side as well, and how a lot of what we had built to build, relevant recommendations and great experiences for our members, we could also then pass through to our partners and let them provide that to their customers. So again, now taking it one step further, you don't need to have the card and you don't need to be a Bilt member. You can go experience this across our partners in the hospitality space as well.
Alex from Bolt here. So something we run into a lot is like integrations. You mentioned partnerships.
Yeah.
Usually that comes with some kind of engineering lift.
Yes.
And so I'd be curious to hear just how you think through which integrations to pursue and how you kind of divide that engineering lift between, do you have standardized services they plug into, or do you build custom stuff? Do they build custom stuff? How do you work that out with each partner?
Yeah. So this is the biggest lift, to your point, because we could come up with great products all day, but if we can't layer on top of all of these partners that we want to work with, then it won't work. So it's kind of a conversation per partner of, how are they integrating with other partners? What's worked, what hasn't for us? And yes, we do build standard services so that it all comes in the same way. I think in the beginning, there were some areas where we didn't, and it's super messy, especially when you put an LLM on top of it, trying to translate all of that. And so we are standardizing more and more every day where we can. But in deciding overall to even pursue an integration, as soon as we hit a roadblock and not being able to do what we want to do for our partners, we approach that company and say, okay, let's work together. And here's why it's mutually beneficial for both of us. But it's something we're working on every day. And I think this data model that we're continuing to work on perfecting is standardizing that even more.
Perfect.
Okay, we'll do the last question.
This is a good question. I love the talk, and I'm curious about how much of dependency of the success of Bilt is based on the overall health of the economy, right? So oftentimes we hear this K-shaped economy where middle class earners are having less and less spending powers, whereas the upper echelon of the segment of users are very just setting everywhere. And I'm wondering, is there a particular segment of consumer base you guys are targeting, especially with the pivoting to additional luxury categories like travel and restaurants?
Yeah, so I know we spent a lot of time on restaurants, and I think that's because we're in New York and everybody loves restaurants. But we, in the multifamily space, where we've been since the beginning, we have every range of building. We have those like AAA, crazy rents, some of these skyscrapers you can see from here, to low-income housing too, because everybody needs a home. So everybody is renting or owning. And to that point, we just moved into mortgages. We just announced our partnership with UWM, which opened up a whole new segment and maybe some more rural areas, not some of the big cities. And so on the partnership side, in hotels, airlines, and restaurants, we have kind of every end of the spectrum for kind of, quick service restaurants, everything to, Michelin star tasting menu restaurants. And same with on the travel side. We have partners that kind of hit every income level and every budget. And then we have partnerships like Walgreens, where just by going and shopping at Walgreens, you're getting your, Bilt points, or we can submit HSA, FSA reimbursements on your behalf, something that doesn't even have to do with rewards. It's just making the experience more seamless for our customers. And so that's why I kind of keep saying, we don't rely on our customers using every piece of the product to be a profitable customer to us. We've created many versions of how you could experience our product, either through us or through our partners.
Thank you so much, guys. That was phenomenal questions. And thank you so much for peeling back the curtain on that.
Thank you.
Off AI Day, Bilt absolutely crushes. And so we're so grateful. And so get all that insight from you. I will pass on the mic, but there's so much more exciting programming. So you got to hear about it. But thank you, guys.
Thank you.